Okay, trusted learning analytics. So what is it all about? Of course, it's about learning analytics, and most of you have seen part of the slides beforehand. So what's learning analytics about? So what is it good for? So we get new insights about the learning process that is going on, or they might get new insights. So if what you can see here is a graph about a figure about learning duration in days and learning activities, and the green line is what the teacher has expected, and you can see that with the red line that there are some portions that don't work as expected. So this is just one learner, but if you see what all the others are doing, you can see that there's some points that might need some further look at, and you might have you should change your module there or the way you're teaching or whatever. So there's something going as not expected. This is what learning analytics can give you. And the process is pretty much clear. So while the teaching and learning process, there are some data collected, which is stored. And of course, then there's some data processing to get some assistance or interventions or whatever you need from the analytics process. And this, again, normally is used for teaching and learning or for other aspects as get an overview, how good the modules are running or whatsoever. So I think this looks quite good and everybody just want the best. So what for trust is needed then in this process? So if it's good for everybody, you would, this is kind of enough, so you don't need any kind of trust. However, there have been some times before that, and not everybody handled the data that had been collected in a way that benefit for everybody. So this is just an example with Facebook. It's very well-known examples, but I think this is true for nearly every other data collecting company as well. So I don't need to name all the others. It's quite usual that they collect more than expected, and they collect even more than the user want to. This is why they hide the information, what they collect and what they're doing with the data. So if you're going to the internet, once upon a time, it was quite anonymous and you could do what you want, not really, but you really could feel free. Nowadays, it's more like this, that you, as soon as you're internet, you are observed by anybody. And this doesn't feel that good to everybody, especially not only us, but the Germans have some very good experience with that in former times. And no, that doesn't feel very good. It feels a bit like Stasi. Even if you remember that it's not like this. So this picture is not true, I think. Maybe it's more like this. There are nearly hundreds of trackers on each side, and they're I just like to compare it with that situation. You just go out of the door, going through the city, and about 10 people are following you and tracking everything what you're doing, writing it down, compare it with others. This is what in real life nobody would like. And it's done even if I say, no, I don't want to be tracked. It's still done. So this is not very trustful. And that is why trust has been lost for very, very many people. This is an example. It's called the Inblum case. And this it's an example for that. There should have been established an LA solution for the US, and the parents didn't like that idea very much. So because they didn't have been asked, so as you can read there, all this is happening without parental consent. They just want to establish the system without asking the parents. And they, at the end, they said, no, this won't happen. And it didn't happen. So 100 million US dollar of research work and of course, just had been dismissed. So nobody could use it anymore. The system was plugged out and nobody uses. So 100 million for, at the end, nothing. Oh yes, there is one outcome which you can see here, that you shouldn't do it that way. So in one hand, so trust is lost. On the other hand, especially for Europe, trust is law right now. We have the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. So, and it ruled out on the 20th May of 2018, but the law exists 2 years earlier. And I was very surprised that everybody had been surprised in 2018. Oh, there's the GDPR coming. Yes, it had been 2 years' time to react on that, but very, very less people and companies did it. However, the GDPR gives you the right to be informed, and really informed in an understandable way, which kind of data is collected, what is going to be done with that data, how is it processed, how is it stored, and who will get the data. Yeah, and so you can, so you have to be informed that way so that you can say, I like that idea or not. And you have the people that got the right to access their collected data. So if you ask a company, a data collecting company, what kind of data have you collected? They have to give it to you. Right, so there are lots of other rights like rectification, erasure. If you ask for for deleting your data, they have to do it. And you have the right to restrict processing of your data and to move your data from one company to another. Oh, this doesn't work that good right now. However, you have got the right, and you have the right to object automated decision making. All this has very much influence on learning analytics and what we want to do with that. And this is a burden for lots of companies and a lot of developers. However, we think of the Trusted Learning Analytics Group, this is our basic value. This is what we want, and this is how it should work. So that we are right now in Trusted Learning Analytics, and what we are doing in Trusted Learning Analytics, we are doing the same as the others. We collect data, store the data, process it, build some assistance interventions for teaching and learning where all the data is collected and so on. However, we look a bit different on that. So we really take care of that data. This is the most important thing. So we take care about the users giving us their data. So these are the principles we are looking at, or we have. We say the data we collect and we process should improve teaching and learning. This is what we want. We don't give away the data. We don't use it for advertising. We don't use it for anything else. We use it to improve teaching and learning. Even if we can't improve it with that, that's another story. But this is what it is meant for. Another principle is that that learning analytics is for all students. So there's nobody that has to be before the door and don't come in and It's for everybody. Nobody should be outside. Very important is transparent data usage, whatever that means. So it's a bright discussion going on that what is really transparent. It's not about what can we hide. It's about if we just open all the data and back. Do you hear me again? Okay, thank you. Sorry for that. So Bluetooth was gone, got back. So yes, yeah, good technology. Where did I end? Transparent data usage. Yes. So if, for example, if you ask Amazon that they should give you the data they collected about you, they will give it to you. It's more than sometimes 50, sometimes it's 500 pages full of data. Yes, there are good old cables, but I don't have it here right now. Thank you. And this is a kind of transparent if you are a computer scientist, but normal people can't read that. So we really have to discuss what is transparent data usage and how to make it really transparent so everybody can understand it. This is important that they understand the data usage, otherwise it's not transparent. And of course, you should collect as less data as possible to help to improve teaching and learning. So the old days like, oh, we collect everything we can get and see afterwards what we're doing with it won't work anymore. This is maybe a way for research in learning analytics because you don't know which data is good for what. But if you're going into, if you use it for normal teaching and learning, then you should collect as less as possible. On the other hand, it's good for you as well. So if you don't have data you do not have, cannot be getting lost. You cannot lose data that you don't have, so that nothing bad can happen with them. So this is a good side for you as well. Another principle is that human control is on top of automatic decisions. So there shouldn't be any rates or anything else done automatically. These decisions should be done by teachers, by humans, not by computers. And of course, the management is responsible for that, what's going on with their systems. And they should train all the staff that is working with it all the time because the systems are changing. So the staff should be trained on the learning analytics system that are used. So you can see most of it is about data. And this is why big portions of our work is going about data as well. So for data collection, storage and processing, it's very important that you have a consent from the learners. You should not, and in Europe, you're not allowed to just collect each kind of data from students without asking. No, you need a consent and it should be opt-in. Because it's learning data is it's kind of very personal data. the students should have the possibility just to log in. Oops, sorry. Sorry, I have to. And data frugality. Yes, you should have collect as less data as possible here as well, and you should take care that the data can be deleted afterwards, after that has been collected. That is not easy in each case, but you have to take care for it. You have to take care about data access. So who has access to which data, at which time, at which position, whatever, and how the data can be restricted from access from others. This needs to be transparent as well, so that students maybe that open their data that don't do in the wrong way. So this is the opposite of, again, the company view. Let's see at Google or at Facebook, they just hide their hide the switches, how to for data access at positions that you don't expect, or like Google, when you switch off location from that handy can get located, you don't switch this off, but you switch off GPS, but your handy can still be located. And this kind of transparency, this is not transparency, so this mislead the users, and this is what we don't want, because misleading is not trustful. There's of course special conditions for data for research purposes, because there you have got more rights. On the other hand, it's not the usual teaching and learning process in that case normally. And you also can see that there's that not like the whole institution has got access to that collected data. So you have there you can formulate different access rules and deletion rules and whatever. What some really forget is that you really have to think about third parties that you include in your process. Let's maybe for data processing that is done maybe by a company. You need to have contracts because you are responsible for their data processing. So you are responsible for that if they are doing bad things with the data. And you really should think about that before you establish a learning analytics process. This data thing, of course, is very technical view on that. And of course, you need a technical solution. So there's a figure for a technical approach to this. So it's a kind of trusted learning analytics infrastructure. And yes, the solution for this here is that you just introduce a privacy layer, and each kind of access goes through this privacy layer. Of course, you need in the dashboard some controls for this as well. And this, of course, needs to be usable by these kind of people that use this control and have to control the privacy settings. However, this is not the whole story. If you have implemented it technically, that's very good and it's important. But if you look at this, learning analytics has 6 dimensions. And you've got external constraints, internal limitations, instrument state, objectives, and the stakeholders. That's quite a lot. And to fulfill all these 6 dimensions, we think it's a delicate issue. So maybe some help in this is not a bad idea. And yes, there is a delicate checklist for this that really help if you need to go to the process of introducing learning analytics in your institution. So these are all the points you should look at, like determination. So why you want to apply learning analytics. This is the question behind that. And of course, you need to explain to everybody who is affected by learning analytics. You should be open about your intention and objectives of learning analytics. Be open, then you're trustful. And legitimate what is it for, so why you're allowed to have the data. This should be transparent as well. And if you're doing it in a cool way, so there is normally no problem in that. Involve all stakeholders and the data subjects from the beginning. Then you can establish a trustful platform, but they should be all involved, and make a contract with the data subjects, so get their consent. Anonymize the data as far as possible, make the individual not retrievable if you use the data for further processing. And it's, yeah, this is quite important, and you need to have procedures to guarantee privacy. So this is a kind of technical solution that I've showed you before. And yes, if you work with external providers, make sure they also fulfill the national and organizational rules and so on. So they have to be within the same boat. This checklist has been worked out by Drax and Greller, and yes, this is you can see it in their paper, Privacy in Analytics. It's a delicate issue. It is. Oops. So coming back to the 6 dimensions, I would like to have a further look onto the stakeholders, because when you talk about learning analytics, it's about learners, it's about teachers, it's about the institution, and yeah, maybe others as well, like administrators and so on. They all have to do with learning analytics, and they all need to be convinced. And yes, we had a survey with students. So we asked students what they think about learning analytics, what they think about the future of learning. And it was a bit surprising, the outcome. So this is the outcome. You can see the ideal scenario about ethics and privacy in the top left corner. And yes, they have all high expectations about the ideal scenario. And very nicely, you can see in the expected scenario, which is on the just down on the left side, they don't expect that much except of the UK students. So they agree that the expected scenario is near the ideal scenario. And if you look at the learning analytics services, what is ideal? The expectations in Spain are very higher than in UK and Germany. However, the expected scenario is much, much lower. So we will see what's going on. And I think that, yes, it will need some years until these LA services really will meet the students' expectations. So what we thought is very, very interesting is you can see it at the, so I've marked here, and it's not this obvious, but you can see that the ideal scenario for ethics and privacy for German students is less than for Spain and UK students, Spanish or UK students. So they don't expect that in the ideal scenario, if ethics and privacy is not as important as for Spain and UK students. And this was very big surprise for us, because we really expected that especially the German students are really aware about ethics and privacy in learning analytics and the future of learning. So sometimes the truth is a bit different than you expect. Good that we asked about that. So I talked a lot about we. Who are we? It's the Trusted Learning Analytics Innovation Forum. So this are we. Hendrik Draxler, he is, I think, very, very well known in this topic, and he is something like my boss. Christoph Rensing, yes, he worked for, I think, decades in e-learning. I think he worked for e-learning before e-learning even exists. It's me. It's Jan Hansen, who's really a very good brain for legal stuff in that area, and he really makes things possible so that everybody is satisfied. He does a really, really good job in this. And Tim Steuer, he is a PhD student at the Technical University in Darmstadt. He also works on this topic. Our goals is the acceptance of learning analytics by the acceptance of trusted learning analytics. We think the only way to get learning analytics in the universities is by establishing a trusted way of learning analytics. And because it's a Hessian project, yes, we want to establish Hessian learning analytics communities and propose legal and technical solution for, again, Hessian universities. Of course, they can be used for, by other universities as well, but as we get the money from Hesse, this is for them at first. Yes, we try the realization of trusted learning analytics, and we want to improve the invisibility of trusted learning analytics as it was made in Hesse. Bit about our outcomes we have done so far. We developed further the infrastructure for learning analytics, so I won't go in too much deep in this, but we are really hard working on this because, as I said before, we need a technical solution, but it's not the only thing. So we have written a code of conduct, and there we put in all the points that I've talked about. So it's very political, and it's just about just remember the word law, but it's all the legal aspects you can find here as well, and lots of proposed solutions, as that we call it, what's the English word, ombudsman. So that there might be a person. So if you think that something is going wrong, as a student, you can go to a person who just would tell then the responsible persons that something has been gone wrong and what they maybe should change. You can. There are lots of topics in this, and yes, we just publicated it in March at the LAC 20 conference, and everybody of you can get a free copy. This is the link for the free copy. I will present it in the chat later on, and on the last slide you can see it as well. So I think this is a very, very, very important outcome. And at the end now of my talk, I would like to present to you another aspect of learning analytics, and how you can get to establish it is, yes, do it with a game. So there's a game, it was done by Marcel Schmitz. He is doing his PhD on this, I think in the Open Universität he's doing it in the Netherlands, that's for sure. And he has developed a game. It's called Fellowship of the Learning Activity. And it's a very nice game because then if by playing this game, it's about establishing learning analytics in a university. By playing this game, you're in different roles and just can see the different aspects of learning analytics while building this module you want. And it's also expandable. So if there is a role that is missing, like let's say the data specialist or the data protection specialist, you just could add it there. And by playing this game, many topics that you might have forgotten for establishing learning analytics can be mentioned and discussed here. So I played it, and on one side, it's really fun. And on the other side, you can learn a lot about other thoughts on this topic, and it really might help on establishing learning analytics in your institution. So just play learning analytics, and this is now for me then the end of presenting trusted analytics. And I'm now open for discussions and for questions. And first of all, I will give you the links to the code of conduct.